right, well, you guys requested it in my live streams, and I'm going to hold my end of the bargain. We are going to be covering the USFL and mainly the New Orleans Breakers, the team that I've decided to root for and follow and cover, but we'll be covering the USFL as well. And so this is a video basically breaking down my thoughts on the draft. All 8 teams have been drafted. We'll go through each one in alphabetical order, and I will give you my ranking and who I believe will ultimately be hoisting up the USFL trophy at the end of the year in Canton, Ohio. So before we get into it, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment, and let's dive in. We'll start off with the first team here, and it is the Birmingham Stallions. When you look at their first pick, obviously they go out and they get a former NFL quarterback, not really a starter, in Alex Magoo, somebody that spent time with the Seattle Seahawks. He is going to be the starter in all likelihood moving forward. Davis Smith, the quarterback they got in the 12th round, is a guy that I'm definitely looking at to battle Alex Magoo, but as far as this roster looks, there are some solid pieces. You have O'Shea Dugas, who I do think will be good in the trenches. You do have Victor Bolden Jr., who I think is going to be very explosive in this league, and to be honest with you, it makes a lot of sense they went out and got him, Joseph Emmanuel Hall and Osiris Mitchell, as well as Peyton Ramsey. You know, I do like the receivers for Magoo, as well as the running back and Tony Brooks James, who has familiarity, in the NFL, played for the Falcons, played for the Steelers, some other teams, and obviously made his presence known at Oregon. So there are definitely some guys here. One of the main picks that I really liked here is a linebacker who was, I believe, when he was coming out, I had him in the top 5, at his position. That's Terrell Hanks. Very excited to see him get an opportunity with the Birmingham Stallions. And we'll see what they do, but, they have other guys, Tyree Robinson at safety, Scooby Wright at linebacker, out of Arizona, CJ Marable at running back. So they have some guys definitely that you're going to want to keep an eye on moving forward. Houston Gamblers are up next, and looking at this roster, Clayton Thorson is going to be one of the top quarterbacks in this league for many people. I'm not as sold on him as everyone else seems to be, but I do think Clayton Thorson, who has experience in the NFL, with the Eagles, this is definitely somebody to keep an eye on. We've seen it before. We've seen, the Taylor Heineke's of the world, the John Wolfords. They don't, make things happen in the NFL. They go to the AAF or the XFL, and they make something happen, after that, and they get jobs in the NFL. So we'll see if Thorson can kind of push himself, push his stock forward, but he is on a Houston team that does have Avery Genesee at tackle. I was a really big fan of that pick, and former Ram Brandon Hittner from Villanova, another tackle. I think when you look at it, Clayton Thorson is going to have a lot of protection for not only his blind side, but the other side as well. And then this is the really intriguing part, is that I'm not really high on Clayton Thorson. I'm very high on Kenji Bahar, who comes out of Monmouth, who's been around the Ravens practice, whether it be the training camp, mini camp, practice squad, what have you. This is somebody I really like as a dual threat quarterback. I loved him coming out of Monmouth. So keep an eye out for Kenji Bahar. He could take over that starting role at some point this season, but we'll see. And then, of course, Howard Wilson, Will Likely, and Jamar Summers make up one of the best secondaries, I think, in all of the USFL. A big fan of William Likely from Maryland. Obviously, he's very small if you know who he is. He's 5'7", but he's so scrappy, and he really does a great job in coverage. I think he's going to be utilized mainly in the nickel role, and he'll be good at that. But looking at the other guys that they added, Anthony Ratliff, JoJo Ward, Isaiah Zubir. To me, I think that this is a solid receiver group. I like the pickup of Dalen Dawkins probably the most after that, as well as the non-Ram Tyler Higbee out of Michigan State at guard. But I really do like the pickup of Dalen Dawkins, somebody that was on the Titans. He's had some experience in the NFL, a solid running back that can help you in the pass catching game as well as running the football just in general. So watch out for Dalen Dawkins and Brandon Barnes, the tight end, who had, I think, a pretty good run in the spring leagues before. This is definitely a guy to watch out for. Up next is the Michigan Panthers. And to be honest with you, with Jeff Fisher coaching, this has been the team that betting odds favorite. They are the favorite to win, all of that. But I was very, very less than impressed and just kind of disappointed in the drafting of the Michigan Panthers. Obviously Adewale Adeoye is somebody that I think can make an impact at defensive end. I think Kevin Walker can also do that. Chase DeMoore, they got some good guys on the defensive side. I like Tino Ellis, a guy that I've interviewed before, the cornerback there. And I like the Paxton Lynch move, going out and getting Lynch. But Shea Patterson is not worthy of the number 1 overall pick. And I do think that is going to be what kind of holds this team back. I felt like they could have had an opportunity. A lot of teams had an opportunity, and a guy that I'll be mentioning soon in Kyle Sloter. But, I think that this team should have gone after Jordan Ta'amu at the very least, somebody that's been proven. Shea Patterson hasn't really proven anything in any league. So this is why I wasn't a big fan of that. I think it was really just a homer pick, to be honest with you, if I'm being brutally honest. I understand there's some Michigan fans here, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to call it like it is. I think the Shea Patterson move was because he went to Michigan. But the receivers that Shea Patterson and or Paxton Lynch will have, Quincy Adeboyo, I like him. I think this is somebody that's, showed off a little bit. He's been a preseason darling in the NFL, so I'm hoping he gets an opportunity. Lance Lenoir, as well as Jeff Badette. We've seen him with the Vikings. I believe he's made the Vikings roster before. So this is somebody that has some NFL experience, can really take the top off the defense. And then Orion Stewart, the safety out of Baylor, somebody that I like here, as well as, looking at this team, of course, Joseph Magnifico at tight end is definitely a little bit of a sleeper there. So looking at that, they also added LaMichael Pedway at tight end as well via a compensatory selection. So that's a team that I don't think drafted all that well, but I think they got some solid players that I do like, and wouldn't be surprised if this team, surprisingly, even though they're the betting odds favorite, I would not be surprised if this team disappoints to those betting odds favorite, those odds. And I wouldn't be surprised if this team, falls to the bottom of the league. I really wouldn't. Moving on, we have the New Jersey Generals, who went out and got Ben Holmes out of Tarleton State. A little bit of a surprise move there. Felt like there were better quarterbacks on the board. You see what he can do off script. Definitely, he is somewhat impressive there. He is a undersized quarterback, but that doesn't really matter to me, as you guys know. So I think he'll be solid. I think they definitely made a mistake passing up on Kyle Sloter. Again, I'll say that, and I'll say it over and over again, as well as Kyle Laletta. But we'll see what Ben Holmes can do. I like the pick of Bryson Young in the second round there at defensive end. Calvin Ashley at tackle I like a lot. Devontae Bosby at corner, one of the best corners I think in the USFL. So this is definitely a good pickup there. Going out and getting DeAndre Johnson, that's another quarterback name, backup that you might want to watch moving forward, could potentially challenge Ben Holmes for the starting nod. Cavante Turpin is somebody that has really done a nice job in the TSL. And to me, I think when you look at the guys that have succeeded and have continued to go with this whole spring league mission and really trying to get their name out there, I think it really worked for a guy like Cavante Turpin, for sure, one of the more explosive wideouts in the USFL. And then you have Jamon Moore, who was drafted by the Green Bay Packers a few years out of Mizzou, somebody that I'm definitely watching, as well as Darius Shepard there. And then, of course, looking at Chris Orr at linebacker, I do like him. So I do think that they have some picks here. Not a huge fan of what, New Jersey was able to do, but all in all, I thought that they made some quality picks. Just think that they kind of went wrong at quarterback. And then we'll move on here to the New Orleans Breakers, who I do believe are the favorite. I understand you guys will think, okay, well, he's a fan of the New Orleans Breakers, so it sounds a little biased, but hear me out when I say this. I think the Breakers are the best team. I think they drafted extremely well. I'm going to go through it right now. Look at Kyle Sloter at quarterback. This is somebody that has been unbelievable when his number has been called in preseason. He never got an opportunity to start, but Sloter showed on, two different teams with the Vikings and with the Broncos in preseason. He was able to make things happen. He's a 6'4" guy with a versatile skill set. Obviously can make plays on the run, can run, but it can also improvise on the fly. He's done a great job improving that wrist action, and because of it, he's increased his velocity big time. I'm really excited to see this kid play because I feel like really he's been a chance away from really exploding on the scene. He had an NFL contract before, so he wasn't able to do the XFL or the AAF, but now Kyle Sloter is in perfect position to get his name out there and finally start for the first time since Northern Colorado. So that is a big time pick there. They got him as the last pick in the starting quarterback round of the draft, the first round, 8th overall. I think the Breakers killed it with that selection. And then looking at Davin Bellamy, you talk about arguably one of the best defensive players in the USFL. This is somebody that didn't test very well, as far as the pre-draft process, and didn't have a long NFL career, but he's not done and his story is not written. This is somebody, when he puts the helmet on, straps the helmet, gets those pads on, this is somebody that's a completely different animal. It does not matter what he tested with. I think he is going to be a big time asset in the pass rush, as well as Henri St. Amour, defensive end, as well as James Folston Jr. from Pitt. They got some really good guys that can rush the passer, and I would not be surprised if the Breakers are one of the best pass rushing teams in the league. But on top of that, they added protection for Sloter. That included Paul Adams from Mizzou and Donnell Green from Minnesota, who I loved coming out of the draft. I think both of those guys are going to help at tackle. And then you look at the secondary. I think this team is very well built in the secondary. You look at guys like Adonis Alexander, who spent some time with the Rams practice squad and Washington. You have Derek Jones, so two guys on the boundary that are at least 6'2". Adonis is closer to 6'4", so you get a lot of length on the outside. You get a really good slot corner in Manny Patterson, very physical, very scrappy. Then you talk about Jalen Embry and Ike Brown to add to that secondary. Ike Brown can play any position on the secondary there, and he's the guy that I'm looking at. And then, of course, you look at the receivers and you go out, you get Poindexter out of Arizona. You get Johnny Dixon. Obviously, we know what he can do from his days at Ohio State. Very explosive, gadget-oriented guy. Can play in the slot, can play on the outside, can be your kick returner, punt returner, take some end arounds, things like that. So I'm excited to see what he can do. And then furthermore, Jonathan Adams. This is somebody, to me, you look at a guy out of Arkansas State that can go up and really climb the ladder. He was a monster in college on 50-50 balls and did spend some time with the New Orleans Saints in the training camp area of the season and, of course, preseason. This is somebody that I think is going to give Kyle Sloter a big-time weapon, and Sloter's not afraid to fit it in there in between two defenders. He's not afraid to go deep down the field, so he's not really limited on the football field. He can make all the throws, and I think this is going to be a big-time add for Sloter. Jonathan Adams, obviously in the end zone there. And then Taiwan Taylor, somebody that's had experience with the Titans and other teams as well. He's actually started in the NFL. I think he's going to be a big time guy that can, operate as a slot receiver and be that very clutch possession receiver on third down. When you look, obviously, Chad Williams is another guy out of Grambling, who was drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. He's somebody to watch because maybe, he can make his presence felt in the USFL. But they also added guys that I really do like. And, here's one, Larry Rose III. It's really important for a quarterback to have a good running back. And I think Larry Rose III is one of the best running backs in the USFL. He spent some time with the Los Angeles Rams on their practice squad in training camp and vice versa. So, I think this is somebody that can, make something happen here. Pretty elusive. He's got great contact balance, so I'm excited to see what he can do at this level. So, all in all, I thought they drafted pretty well, looking at that. And to me, I think they're the favorite because of it. We move on to the Philadelphia Stars, who did take Brian Scott, who has been very well known in the TSL. And by TSL, I mean the Spring League that was televised. This is somebody that has continued to fight and claw his way to being known and potentially getting an NFL contract. And Scott, again, is somebody that can make plays off schedule, can make, just about any throw. He doesn't have the greatest velocity, but, he is somebody that is a little bit of a dual threat. So I think he does add that for Philadelphia. You look at getting Carroll Phillips. I think that was huge out of Illinois. One of the better pass rushers, I think, in this league. On top of it, you look at Channing Stribling from Michigan. This is a corner that I think, his length is there, and, he can definitely make some plays. And so I'm looking at those guys. But Case Cookus is an interesting one because he's a quarterback that has spent so many times, throughout the league getting cut and re-signed and cut and re-signed, whether it be with Denver or Minnesota or whoever. This guy continues to, be around the league. And so I wonder if Cookus gets an opportunity and actually ends up beating out Brian Scott in camp. We will see. Camp is right around the corner, as you guys know, or if you don't know, now you do know. But that is definitely something to keep in mind moving forward. Brennan Eagles out of Texas, the wide receiver there, as well as DeAndre Overton and Devin Gray from Cincinnati. These are definitely some receivers that can make an impact, so I'm looking forward to seeing how well they play. Jack Tocho at safety. They added some guys that I definitely like in this, and especially Matt Colburn, the second. This is somebody coming out of Wake Forest. I think he has a little bit of everything that you want in a running back. So he is somebody that I'm definitely looking at for this team, with the Stars. And then, of course, Tavon Coney. If you guys know, I'm a big fan of Tavon Coney coming out of Notre Dame. He spent some time with the Raiders. Obviously, my co-host on the Downtown Rams podcast, Alexis Kraft, loves him. So we'll be watching him very carefully on, with the Stars. I think it's a good fit for him. And another good fit, I think, is Bug Howard. Bug Howard is a former wide receiver for UNC that did transfer to tight end, and I definitely am excited to see him and, work him as a tight end with the Stars. I think he is going to be a pretty solid weapon there over in Philly. Now we move on to Pittsburgh, not far away from Philly, and we start off with Kyle Laletta being drafted 7th overall. Love this selection. I had the pleasure of watching Kyle Laletta at the Senior Bowl coming out of Richmond. And to me, I think, Laletta has what it takes. Obviously, things didn't work out in the NFL, but he does have some starting experience. He has played before. I do think that he needed this, so we'll see what he can do with the USFL, but he does have that NFL experience, and it's pretty new, pretty recent. I think that's going to help him. It was a good draft pick, by the Pittsburgh Maulers. And then moving on, Carlo Kemp, the defensive end, I think is going to be a big-time player as well as Nasir player, no pun intended there. Chidi Okiki at tackle was a good pickup, as well as Isaiah Battle, the former 5th round pick, supplemental pick by the Rams coming out of Clemson. Played in some big time games, was pretty much a project throughout his whole time with the NFL, including going to the Chiefs. So we'll see if he can get himself back on track there. Terrell Bonds is a corner that I really like, and I remember him, playing in the AAF. He had a pretty good season when that thing was going on. So that's definitely a player I'm watching, as well as Josh Love, the quarterback, who spent some time in the Rams training camp and preseason time. He's going to try to test Kyle Laletta. We'll see what can happen there. The guy out of San Jose State. And then Jeff Thomas, Bailey Gaither, Brandon Mack, and Delvin Hardaway, as well as Trey Walker, are your receivers. And Arnold Tarpley is somebody that I'm definitely looking at, as well as former KU Jayhawk Bryce Tornaden. I believe he's the only Jayhawk that was selected. Tornaden is somebody that can work as a nickel, but can also play, deep in safety, has some good range, can, obviously be that hard-hitting hitter. So that is somebody that I think was a good pickup by Pittsburgh, pretty underrated, as well as Boogie Roberts, who has spent time with the Rams, interior defensive lineman, great pass rusher. I think he can help you in the run game as well. This is his moment. This is his opportunity. I think he's done a really nice job from what the tape has on him. When he was with the Rams in preseason, I thought he put up a good preseason. So now it's his opportunity here. People will be watching, and I think he'll be able to make an impact. As well as Kiava Tizino from San Diego State. This is a linebacker that I think has some range, obviously a very sound tackler. So I think he is a huge add for them. And then we move on to the Tampa Bay Bandits, the last team here. And this is, to me, the second best team behind only New Orleans. When you look at what they added in Jordan Teamu, obviously his experience with the St. Louis Battlehawks is very well documented and very well known. But he also was with the Kansas City Chiefs organization. This is somebody that was the second overall pick by the Bandits. And to me, with his durability, his dual threat ability, I think this is somebody that can make all the throws. And when you look at who he's going to be throwing to, former NFL and Pittsburgh Steeler Eli Rogers, Derek Willis, Derek Dillon, Jordan Lastly, formerly with the Green Bay Packers, John Franklin III. I think that there are a lot of guys here that, he could definitely help out and they can help him out. I definitely like the way this team is built from top to bottom. You have guys all over the place, with Bushel Beatty at offensive tackle as well as Corbin Kafusi. Love that pickup, by the way. Michael Scott, Mekhi Brown at defensive end. This is a team that has a lot of players right off the rip. John Atkins, I think, coming out of Georgia is going to be a big-time player, I think, in the trenches. And Damian Mama at guard, coming from USC is another guy, as well as Dalen Mack out of Texas A&M in the interior. Obi Melifonwu, name that you've probably heard before. He's going to be their safety. He was drafted. And Cheyenne O'Grady from Arkansas is another guy to look out for. He is their tight end. So that is that. Greg Reeves as well is another player coming out of Colorado State that I would definitely want to keep an eye on. But, definitely something there, as far as that goes with those teams. I don't think that there is a huge advantage for one specific team. I do think that the Breakers look like the best team. They drafted the best. I think Tampa comes in second. So we're going to rank them right now. The betting odds favorites according to covers.com. We have the Breakers are the least favorite. They are plus 650 to win the USFL championship. Love the betting odds there. The Pittsburgh Maulers I also love at plus 600. You have Houston Gamblers at plus 600. Birmingham Stallions at plus 600. You have the New Jersey Generals at plus 55. Philadelphia Stars at plus 500. Tampa Bay Bandits at plus 450. Wrapping it up, I'm actually a little surprised by this, but almost not really because they had the number one overall pick. You have the Michigan Panthers at plus 325. Looking at my rankings here that I put together, I was not very impressed by the Michigan Panthers, and they come in at 8 for me. I just think they have a weaker roster, and I think that they're being propelled by the obvious, the experience and the NFL experience, and the guy that's coached in a Super Bowl in Jeff Fisher. Obviously that I think that's definitely helping their betting odds. Number 7, the New Jersey Generals. I think Mike Riley's a good coach. I don't think this is a great roster. And I have some questions at quarterback. They come in at 7. Number 6, the Birmingham Stallions. Have some questions at quarterback. I think their roster's okay, but it wasn't absolutely blown away by their picks. And they come in at 6. Number 5, the Philadelphia Stars, where I think Brian Scott probably has the most boomer bust potential, out of the quarterbacks. I think the most potential lies with Sloter, but I don't think he has a huge bust range, whereas I think Brian Scott is essentially going to be one of the stars of this game, or he is going to be, he's going to fall flat on his face. I don't think there's any in between. I think the Stars have some talent there. They're a team to watch, maybe a dark horse team. If Brian Scott takes that next step and, becomes a face of the league, then this could be a team that we're talking about winning it all. They come in at 5. Number 4, Houston. Like I said, I like Kenji Bahar a little bit more than their starting quarterback, Clayton Thorson. I think that they have some guys definitely that you want to look out for. Mainly I think it's more of a defensive team, but we'll see. I have them at 4. Number 3, the Pittsburgh Maulers with Kyle Laletta. This is his opportunity coming out of Richmond. Obviously had the Senior Bowl, played for the Giants. He's been around. We're hoping, obviously he's hoping he can get back to the NFL. I think this is a good step in the right direction. I like what the Pittsburgh Maulers have put together as far as a team. They are 3 for me. Number 2, like I said before, Tampa Bay Bandits. I think when you have a guy like Jordan Teamu and all of the talent that they have, including an NFL receiver and Eli Rogers, I think that's definitely beneficial. And so this is a team that I'm looking at to potentially play in the championship game against none other than the New Orleans Breakers, who come in at 1. I think Kyle Sloter is going to put the entire league on notice. I think he's going to put the NFL on notice. I think he's going to make guys that right now don't have jobs look stupid. I think this is somebody for a while that, we watched the Nick Mullins of the world. We watched, all sorts of guys, whether it be, a Jake Fromm or whoever. And we've watched these guys get, all these chances, whereas Kyle Sloter has sat there, patient, never said a word. He's just worked hard. He's 28 years old. This is his opportunity. I think he's the face of the USFL. You can call me biased all you want, but I think obviously you need to have a great quarterback in order to be a great team. They have a great quarterback. They have a great secondary on paper. They have a really good pass rush. I think they spent a lot of time going out of their way and getting those pass rushers. And then they have a good offensive line that's going to be able to keep Sloter upright, as well as a good running back in Larry Rose and some talented receivers in Johnny Dixon, Jonathan Adams, and Poindexter, as well as Taiwan Taylor. So this is a team that I will not be surprised if they end up winning it all. But I do think the MVP of this league is without a doubt going to be Kyle Sloter when it's all said and done. And I think it's going to be his pathway to maybe kind of a similar Kurt Warner story where he goes to the NFL and he goes back to the NFL after, having all sorts of teams that he's played for or been on. I think he's going to get finally his opportunity to eventually start soon. So call me crazy, but this is a guy that is not going to be in this league long. He's going to play this year. They're going to win the title. He's going to win MVP, and then he'll be playing in the NFL as long as injuries permit it. So that's that. This is, I guess, a preview of the USFL. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I'll be putting out more videos, and I will be covering the New Orleans Breakers in exclusive fashion, but I will also be covering the USFL as well. So thanks again, guys. You guys take care, and I will see you guys soon. Later.